That's so exciting, and it's so amazingly attractive.
Yeah, you're not laughing now, are you?
Oh, and we are laughing now, though, because, good gosh, but where's my bins? How can I see? Am I using some kind of teleportation? Oh, it's okay. There's my Ray-Bans there. I'll just fetch them. I mean, oh, hang on a minute. You know, there's nothing like a bit of sellotape, or plaster is the more traditional quick repair. I mean, of course, you can go for the mono look, which is fine from certain angles, but after a bit of moving around and a bit of talking, that is not a good look. I'm sorry, by the way, I'm eating. I need some energy. I'll get into it. It was 37 here later. That's what I mean. 42 is coming. It's just he recognizes that I'm going to gibber for a while. So I told him to hold back for a while. I've got something really exciting to show you before we start, though. I know no one likes to see someone eat, but see, look what's happened to my glasses now. How long did that take for me to look like, is it Christmas? Got a ticket once at the Arsenal behind all the people in wheelchairs. As you know, I've got nothing against people in wheelchairs or people with physical and mental disabilities. I even made a video about the fact that I treat them as I treat everyone, as individuals. But when you've got people in front of you and nothing's happening on the pitch, and one of them goes, "Paul Merson scored!" and you're like, Paul Merson hasn't played for 30 years. So you can see the problem, okay? Well, now you can really see the problem. Ironically, I can't. But that's enough of my high-protein yogurt. Working, though. Got those traps back up. Look at that. Get some of that for you, ladies. Good gosh. Like magic. Like magic. Look. I just got on it. I just went to the opticians and I said, "What happened?" But it's always the way, isn't it? When you're on your ass and your skin, that's when you sit on your glasses for the first time ever. And so that's more money you haven't got. 42 is in the digital green room. Get comfortable, mate. I've got a lot more nonsense to talk about. Lovely to see so many people here early. I am killing time a little bit because this is actually a very serious topic. And I think if you miss the beginning, you might, if you miss, what would the word be? If you miss what gives 42 the right to discuss these things, I think you'll be missing out on something. Now, one second. Southern Poverty Law Centre, Men's Rights Movement. Just a few quotes I found that I'd like to read. 42, and I think it'll be interesting for you to see what how the men's rights. I mean, on a kind of sub-meta, men's rights is just really, it's what people think feminism is. Oh, no, we're just I'm not in the men's rights movement, but I'm sure I do and say things that they would probably agree with some of the time. But, they're considered a hate movement, a hate group. We care about the way things are going in society, in law, in court, and that's hateful. How dare you? What, just because you're a man? Well, no, actually, because I'm a human, but the law and other things have used that division anyway. Before we get there, thanks to everyone. I won't go through any hellos, But this what I'm about to show you isn't me advertising myself, but I've had a website up for 15 years, probably, since I started doing stand-up. Because when someone approaches you after a gig, says, "Oh, where are you playing next? You know, how can I contact you?" You don't want to be sitting down writing emails, or it's Chris Dangerfield at, no, have a website, chrisdangerfield.com, easy, right? So I've updated it. But there is a reason for me showing you this. Let's try this one. No, that's the wrong one. This one here. So this is the updated one. Very nice. I mean, basic, but they're all live links. You can get to my Substack at the top there. YouTube, Twitter, Telegram. So that's all nice, okay? I'm very happy with that. My mate does it for me. The mate who, incidentally, without whom I wouldn't have a business. He got me online. He built my first, second, third, fourth website. Amazing, what a friend. And he done that. You know, I asked him last week if we could update it, sent him the graphics, done it. I said, how long did that take? He said, well, once I'd got in, just a few minutes, but getting into a couple of hours, just giving that time up to someone, amazing. And he knew that I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and Substack was slightly to the right, only by about 1 mil. And I said to him, look, don't worry about that. You know that I'll be all over it with a ruler and all that. I said, but ignore it. 20 minutes later, he'd shunted it over about 1 mil. I mean, you know, I've known the geezer since we were 11 years old, and I'll trust him with my life. And there's very few people. I mean, even my best friends in other realms of, you know, you have sort of different compartments in your friendships. Not sure I trust them as much as I trust this bloke, to be honest with you. I mean, I think he knows all my passwords, all my business passwords. He could steal everything I own, including my YouTube channel. He could probably guess those passwords, or he's got access to my Google Chrome. And you know what? Not once in nearly 20 years have I thought, is that a bit risky? You know, fall out of people occasionally, didn't you? He's just not that kind of bloke. He's a good person. If you're watching this, mate, you know I think all that. And you couldn't say that to his face, though. He'd just sort of go and then talk about something else. So I made it public. But here's what I want to show you, because it's quite sweet. And I'm also waiting for a few people to turn up, as I said. But when he had a look at that website, he found some legacy content. This will only take a minute. I mean, a few of you do ask what it was like being a comedian and that. And I looked at this, and it brought back some memories. So there you go, people. That was my old website from years ago. Chris Dangerfield, comedian. Gigs there, contact. A few pictures of me here actually performing. I can't remember any of the names of these venues. Nice suit, though. No, let's see if we can get... I can't make it any bigger, unfortunately. Or maybe we can. Maybe I pressed the wrong button. Nice whistle there. Seen that one before, haven't we? Anyway, but look, all those videos are on YouTube. They've been taken down. Got some quotes here. This is from Julian Clary. Now, I mentioned the dinner with all the gays the other day, but I haven't mentioned Julian Clary. Remember Julian? Massive comedian. Kind of lost his job when he talked about fisting red boxes and that at some award ceremony. But he says, goes where other comics fear to tread, a much-needed breath of vulgarity. Cheers, Julian. Will Self, my man Will Self. He's a very, very amusing fellow. Funnier than an unsuspecting lump sought out by horror-stricken fingers. For Alex Zane. Do you remember Alex Zane? Good Lord. Original, surreal, filthy, controversial, and really, really funny. Fringe guru. That's a woman called Matilda Gregory. She's a reviewer and a critic. And I have to say, she elevated me on the comedy scene. She gave me a load of 5-star reviews. She came up to me after an Edinburgh show I'd done with a couple of mates, and she said, it's time you done your own show. She said, these people are holding you back. And I did. I'd done my own show the next year. And she said, there you go, 5 stars. Mackenzie Crook there from The Office, of course, and Pirates of the Caribbean, and the people with the I don't know what they call them. The you walk along, see if there's any metal in the ground. Like an ex-junkie on acid. Well, funny that. Absolutely hilarious. And Scott Capurro, American comic, another gay, weirdly enough. Wild, refreshing, and unconventionally brilliant. But I'm not just here to brag. Photo of me there in a pair of knickers. I've done that whole gig in those knickers. It was a charity gig. But look at the gigs I'd done. Look, in September, headlining. September was all, look, 2010 this was. It was a month of headlines. October, headlining. Just the one headline, but I don't remember any of these. The one of these I do remember is Toriano's, because she was very nice to me, the woman who run that. Look at November, busy. Headlining. December, headlining. January, there you go. Look at all the gigs. Headlining. And so there you go. I was actually a comedian. And of course, here, I wonder if this clicks through. This is where me and Trevor Locke done this a tour of people's living rooms. I doubt this will click through. No, nothing there. And so you can put your details in, and there's a few photos. Look at that, Barnett. Yeah, done well to get rid of that one. Anyway, right, let's do what we're here to. Now, we're going to try and keep this. Let's talk about what actually happened here. Nice one for the peck. Someone's dropped a peck. Nice one, plot loser. You've also reminded me. Thank you for the donation you made in the comments to one of my Dragon's Den videos as well. I think it was. I'm just sorting out entropy because I forgot to. Now, while I'm doing this, I'll tell you the story. So 42 suggested doing a stream together on the men's rights movements and associated areas. And I thought, oh, man, that is so boring. I did. I thought that. I thought, I don't want to do that. And then I also thought, I don't know anything about it. I know about Cassie J's film, The Red Pill, which we assumed was going to change a lot regarding men's rights, and actually kind of was a little bit of a fart in the wind. And I thought, this is going to be a stream where I just sit and listen. But 42 was clever. And, right, there's the entropy link. Hang on. 42 was clever. Oh, nearly had it twice. What he done was, sorry, people, I can't manage to do two things at once. Let me just pop this entropy link into YouTube. What he done was he came on a couple of call-in shows that I done, you know, and I didn't know that's what he was doing. He come on a couple of call-in shows. Why can't I pin that message? Replace pinned message. Maybe I've already done it. I had already done it. What's all this hoo-ha about? I'm off my head tonight. I don't know what's happening. Right, so my man 42, plot loser, thank you for that. I'm skin, it's double bubble on the donations. It makes so much difference at the moment. Always does, but sitting on my glasses was 30 quid. I said, cha. So he come on a couple of call-ins and he swerved the conversation round to men's rights, but without naming it and coming at it from a different angle. And it was fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And then he done it again about 2 weeks later, you know, kept it all on the QT, come on another call in. And we ended up talking about things that I didn't really think would feature in a conversation about men's rights. And then it suddenly clicked. I said, you know what? This is, I'm trying not to swear so much, but this was effing interesting stuff. And then I just thought, hang on a minute. I said, we've got to do this stream, haven't we? And he went, yeah, okay then. And here we are. And we've put it off and we've put it off. I mean, everyone loves a cancellation. I'm a bit gutted that we're actually going through with it. But hello to everyone. If you've got questions for 42, super chats and entropies will be prioritised. I will ask him them. Or if you want to say anything, of course, I'll put them on the screen or read them out. But I will try and look for other questions as well. I don't know where this is going. I'm going to read out a few quotes. I think we'll get 42 in, though, because he's He's a weird bloke, and he's probably sitting down there a bit lonely. But we'll find out his reactions to these. He's gone. Emma, 42's gone. He's not there. Has he changed his mind? Or maybe he just thought, hang on a minute. When he says he's going to talk for 5 minutes, it's been 16. Hello, Martin. Special K reckons that facts suck. They suck the truth, though, Special K, don't they? They suck the truth. Hello, Jeff. Hello, what's the name? Well, I'll just say some hellos until he comes back. The boy Cray is on the firm. Hello, mate. Hello, John. John B, nice to see you. Whiskey Straight, nice. I don't know if that's Al or AI. Actually, is that Al Mac? I don't know what's going on here. It's all gone crazy. Hello, JP. Thanks for sending me the King of the Streets ear biting off fight. I'm just waiting for 42 to come back, people. But King of the Streets, unlicensed, unregulated underground prize fighting. I've shown a couple of the fights on the stream. JP, who I just mentioned, he sent me a link to a fight they done in England. And it's proper English fighting. There's a bit where he goes, I'm going to fucking have you. They're saying that. I'm going to fucking hit you. It's like, what? This isn't King of the Streets. This is King of the Pub. But he bites his ear off. Yeah. Like that whole, like imagine that whole bit there. You know, that little thin bit in between. He just, he has a couple of goes at it and it's perfectly legal. It's perfectly legal to, in King of the Streets, it is actually no rules. There's another one where there's an eye gouging. Yeah, they're in a clinch. And one of them decides to, I'm just going to stick my thumb through his eye. And I've told you the story before when I was quite a young man, I got into a fight and the geezer was bigger than me. And the truth is, bigger blokes are usually harder. They're usually better at fighting just because of the strength and the weight they've got. And it got to the point where he was strangling me. He was literally, actually had his elbow on me. And I was like, and I thought, I'm going to die. You've got to do something here. You know, he was sitting on me. He'd locked my legs in. And I just, I wasn't getting anything out of hitting him because I can't remember why. Just because I was dying. And I thought, I've got to do something brutal here. And I thought about my usual, just jabbing him a few times in the neck, but I couldn't get there. 42's back. 1 second, 42. And so I started pushing his eye, right? And it went in. And I'll tell you what, even when you're dying, it's an horrible thing to do. It's not as easy as you'd think it'd be. And I remember at one point it went as my thumb and his eye went further back in his skull. And that's when he got off me, actually. And I stamped on his head a few times. 42! Hello, son. Your mic's off.
Evening, sir. How's yourself?
Well, I did say 5 minutes and it's been 20, but you've known me long enough to know that.
Well, it's a good job it was that time because my computer took a fit of freezing or something. I don't know what the hell went wrong, but we seem to be back up and running now.
Now, you've come in here with gusto and speed because I always take the piss out of your sleepy, hypnotic, insomnia cure of a voice. And it sounds to me like you've gone...
That's probably just a bit of adrenaline rush from the computer shitting itself.
An adrenaline rush from a scared computer. Right, well, here we go. So before we start, I mean, you'll be aware of this anyway. I thought I might as well do a bit of research, people. And I put into Google, this is what I put in, men's rights movement. Right? That's all I put in, men's rights movement. First link was your friend of mine, helpers to the people, advisors to the lumpen proletariat, the Southern Poverty Law Centre.
Oh, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, I mean...
Until about 4 years ago, the Southern Poverty Law Centre had said that the men's rights movement is definitely not a hate movement, and some of their arguments have got merit, and then suddenly it changed.
Okay, well, I'll try and make this a bit bigger so people can see. It's not a lot. Anyway, I'm going to read it quite fast, but not so that you can't understand it. Interestingly, they've associated a whole movement with Mike Cernovich and Roosh V, which is interesting. Yep. Okay. This is what they say about the men's rights movements, the monolith that is the men's rights movement. Many of the core tenets of male supremacist ideologies are contradictory. I mean, that's quite the opener. Hang on, how did we go from men's rights to male supremacist ideology? I mean, it's absurd, isn't it? It's much the same as if you're making a movement for white people, it's all of a sudden white supremacy, isn't it? You can have an Asian or African American or whatever, but as soon as it's white, it's not a self-interest group; it's a supremacist group, and the SPLC have done that in their first line. I mean, it's almost not worth reading because people know it. But things like this: many male supremacists reduce women to their reproductive function, simultaneously shaming them for having sex, while believing that sex is something women owe men, or that should even be coerced out of them. I mean, talk about lack of nuance. It's incredible. And then there's loads of quotes from Paul Elam, who I'm sure we'll get onto. So let me just read. Don't comment on these 42. I just want to read them out and we'll get there. But Paul Elam, people, he featured very heavily in Cassie J's The Red Pill documentary. If you don't know about that, where were you? She was a feminist who decided to look into the men's rights. She had her whole world blown upside down. She was red-pilled and ended up dropping out her feminism by the end of it. And the feminists come across terribly in the documentary. If you haven't seen it, while it's dated now, I mean, what we're talking for the Red Pill, 42, 5 years ago, 6 years ago?
I think that was 2017.
There you go. So, yeah, about 6 years ago. So these are some quotes from our man Paul Elam. Ready? It's quite a long one. That's the way of the romantic model, a not so benevolent female dictatorship where being a liar and a yes man is written into the Constitution. How many simps out there right now blowing money they don't really have, groveling, making false promises because they're being played by shallow parasitic women. That's the romantic model, where sexual attraction is a license to lose your fucking mind, especially these days when being a shallow parasitic female is considered good breeding. I mean, I find it interesting that they put that up there as a negative. Look at the evil things they say. They dare question things.
Yeah.
So 42, I'll call you 40 for this stream. Yep. Yeah. What gives you the right to come on here and tell me about the men's rights movement?
Right. To cut a long story short.
Give me the long version.
Right. 2012. Middle of 2012, I escaped a 25-year abusive relationship. And I found myself, when I left the relationship, my wages had not, because if you've got a mortgage, you still got to pay that. If you've got credit card debt, you've still got to pay that. If you've got a bank loan, you've still got to pay that. And how financial control works, particularly over a long-term relationship, is the abuser will, yep, that's where I met Luke. I met him in ICMA 2016 in London. How financial abuse generally works is they will get the person who's the main wage earner to pay for all the major debts. They'll pay none of that, and then you'll live off the other person's wages.
So I'm assuming that mortgage you're paying, are you living in that house, or is
God, no.
No, of course.
no,
Yeah.
right. You're right. I've actually got. If you want to see the balance of my income and outgoings, I can throw that up for you. It's all normalized. So I then went to all the places one would normally go to for help and support. Went to housing benefit to see if I was entitled to anything. Went to the Equality Commission. I went to the Human Rights place because one of the interestingly in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, one of the things is no one shall be held in servitude, and I believe that if you're earning wages to pay for a house you no longer live in and service all sorts of stuff that is nothing really to do with you, that's servitude, but apparently that's not really the case.
It sounds like the exact precise definition of held in servitude.
So I went to all of these places, went to my member of parliament, and everywhere I went, they basically said, "You're a single man with a job, tell your story walking." And I was like, yes, I am a single man with a job, but out of my let's see, I'll get these figures right. Out of this is 2012 time, I was taking home £1,229, and after I paid for all the house stuff, and then petrol to get to work, 12 quid from my phone because I got the cheapest one available. I had
credit card bills.
Yep, I had right. So
shit that was spent between you, obviously.
Right. Oh, the house stuff came to 967 quid. And then whenever the stuff I needed for getting to work, I was left with £134, supposedly for food, clothes, shelter.
Whoa, 134 quid. What, a month or a week?
Yes,
or
a month.
And I suppose there's no welfare because you're a homeowner.
Yep. There's no welfare because of a job.
Okay, yeah.
Right, so I've got the job, right? The day before I walked out of the relationship, I was living in a 3-bedroom semi-detached house with a south-facing garden, had a car that was paid out. The previous year, we hadn't missed going on a foreign holiday for about 10 years. I had done all the stuff that you're supposed to do, to try to better yourself. It moved into a better area. And the day that you walk out of that, you retain all of the debt and all the financial stuff, but you don't get, and you don't, there's no actual assistance for you because you're above the threshold.
I mean, the weird thing is, I'm not going to interrupt too much because this is fascinating, but the story you've just told me is that, I don't know if it's a myth as such, but this is what we hear about women. Women can't leave violent, dysfunctional relationships because they're held in financially. Where can they go? And yet, I know, I don't know the numbers, but in about 15 years ago, there was something like 500 centres in England alone for women to go to that night. If you want to run away from your house, and there was none for men.
Yeah, that's pretty much true.
Thank you, Dave.
What they tend to do if you rock up saying, right, I've just left an abusive relationship in your meal, they tend to direct you to a homeless centre. Right. Now, here's the interesting thing. You rock up there because although you've got a job, you don't have the wages. So therefore, you can't afford rent. Rent on a 1-bedroom flat in Belfast currently is about 350 quid. That's actually went up recently. Coming close to 400. And
42, you don't have to explain it. 140 quid a month is, and unless we're talking Victorian times, you ain't surviving on that.
Yeah. Oh, but
You couldn't live out here on that.
Right, here's the cracker. Here's the actual ball buster. See if you turn up at a homeless shelter with a job. Yeah, that's £700 a month.
You've got to pay for rent at the homeless shelter.
Yeah.
Now, I've been to a few of those places, and they're not pleasant. They're not nice places.
No, they're not brilliant, but they're more expensive than a normal council flat because what they do is they say that they're providing both shelter and mentorship, and therefore they take control of the housing benefit, and it goes up to £700 a month. This is how Women's Aid fund their shelters, because pretty much every woman that rocks up at Women's Aid is entitled to a housing benefit in some way, shape, or form. And if they're not, they tell them to tell their boss to put them on the part-time hours so that they do, and then they claim £700 per month per person in this building that they got built for them for free.
So there's actually a business model of getting women into shelters.
Oh, very much so. A CEO of a local women's aid's on $250,000 a month.
Hang on.
Sorry, a year.
Oh, I mean, that's bad enough, but a month, I was thinking, hey, yeah, but it's still $250,000 a year.
Yeah.
What is it? A basic administration job sitting there ticking boxes?
Yes. The domestic abuse industry, and it is an industry, is $1 billion industry.
It sounds much like the rehab industry. Now, I will say, and perhaps you might agree, this might be the same. There are some that aren't. There are some of people actually wanting to help. I've known that, but the majority of them, it's just an earner, and even the NHS ones are earning out of it. Yeah,
I have every respect for the people at Women's Aid at the bottom end who get involved in this because they want to genuinely help. Those people do exist, but it is an industry. It's run by business people who came into it wealthy and with influence, and they have access to all sorts of people that will. A classic example is you watched the Johnny Depp trial. Yes. Do you remember?
I didn't even understand the words. Let alone watch it.
Right. You watched the Johnny Depp trial, didn't you? You did. Johnny Depp, Amber Heard.
Johnny Depp trial. Yeah, sorry, mate. Right. Yeah, the Johnny Depp trial. Yes, I did watch it, and that's how we got into this. Yes, I did. Yeah. Yes.
You remember the lunatic that they brought on to prove that Depp had the professional woman who.
The psychiatrist.
Yes.
Who I despise anyway. Yeah, I remember her well.
Yeah, she is average for the industry. That's not. They didn't go and find an outlier. They got somebody who talks the way that all of the people involved with the domestic abuse industry talk to governments.
Wow. So there's a certain. I mean, is it's in the interest of these places to what? Keep women in them, turn over many women, or what is best for them?
What really suits them is to work along with councils or whatever to keep women in there for a set number of months and then transfer them to council housing because they're coming from a shelter, their points go up, they automatically get housed. And then
they've got the numbers at the end of the year to get more funding because we've treated 500 women or whatever this year.
Yeah.
But the question I would put to you, though, if there is a business model there and it is making money, why wouldn't they do that for men?
Because the majority of women can be organised to qualify for housing benefit, which is where the money comes from. And the majority of men escaping cannot.
Because they're working.
Right, because they're working, because they've got a mortgage, because they've got all that sort of stuff.
Okay, so you've left 25 years of absolute hell. Well, I'm guessing 24 and a half, because there's always that bit at the beginning where they do the best woman in the world routine. And this isn't me getting at women, people, but I've stayed in very aggressive, violent, destructive relationships for far longer than I should. And you get that period where your life is dedicated to keeping them happy, because if you don't, all fucking hell's gonna break loose. And it nearly broke me. It really nearly broke me in like a year. So for 25 years, you must have been out of your mind. A total lack of identity, no self-esteem, and now you're finding out no one wants to help you.
Yeah, and
wow.
This is why you have a massive spike in suicide for males post-relationship.
Sorry, 42. 1 second. To Helio Bastet. No, this was a long time ago. 42 is now in love with a very beautiful woman, and he's very happy. This is a man who's recovered and sorted himself out. Very kind of you to say that, but I don't want you to get the wrong impression. He's been through it and he's come out the other end. Having said that, I know for a fact that there's at least half a dozen people who watch his channel regularly who are currently being dragged through the courts, can't see their children, their wives living in the house they paid for. So there are people around here who are in a lot of trouble, but 42 he done the good thing and became himself, reclaimed his future.
Yeah. Yes, thanks for saying that. I met Emma G. Emma G is the most wonderful person in the world, and I couldn't be happier.
It's amazing. It makes me cry.
Yeah. Yep. But here's where it's fun. Here's where the actual rabbit hole starts.
Okay.
Right. So I've went to all these places that are supposedly there to help people, and it turns out they're there to help women and girls. And I was on the impression that I had fell through the cracks in the system. Right, this was a rare case where you hear politicians and stuff coming on the news, and they say, "Yeah, this group of people, they seem to fell through the cracks, and we need to do something to try and help them." And around the end of 2012, I started to bump into the men's rights movement. Paul Allen, who you've mentioned there, great guy, by the way.
I find him very impressive in interviews and conversation. I can't see much problem.
I ran a Voice for Men meme team on their Facebook page for a while.
Did you? Hang on. So this is the secret. So you've stepped away, I think you said, but you were quite at the heart of this situation, of the men's rights movement.
See my alternative avatar that I've got up the other day?
Vaguely.
Right, yeah.
To look at.
Right. Yeah, that's my name badge from the 2018 International Conference for Men's Issues.
Cool.
Right, and you see that bit at the bottom where it says staff. I was
I can see it now. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, I was working on the front desk of that conference, and whenever Cassie J turned up to get her badge and I actually signed her in.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
Can you get women going to those conferences, do you?
It's majority men.
I thought it might be. You get a couple of psychotic women going in to learn how to ruin their husbands a bit more.
It's the majority of the women that go tend to be on the stage. A lot of our advocates are female.
Okay.
The famous one being Karen Strawn, but there's quite a few females.
Karen Strawn. So she was a really interesting character, very big during the. What was that group of people called? What was she part of? It was Sargon and all that lot of the time, and Armored Skeptic, bless his.
Was about the computer games.
Gamergate. But they had a name, didn't they? They were called something like the critic community or something. It's not critic.
Oh,
it's another word.
Skeptic.
That's it, the skeptic community. And Karen Strawn was this very strange woman, very anti-feminist, very masculine looking. You'd put your money on her being lesbian, but she's got an husband and kids.
Yeah, but she identifies as bisexual, but she's basically straight at the minute because she's in a long-term relationship.
And she done many videos on men's rights and associated stuff. Wow.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. That's right. She was part of that crowd. There was the Honey Badgers. Remember them?
Yep.
But okay, sorry, 42. I'll tell you what, the reason I keep steering you back is I want your personal sort of story, you know.
Right. Yeah. Right. So end of 2012, I started to find the men's rights movement, started to get involved in that.
But what did you actually do practically? You know, you've got about 50 quid a week. No, less than that. 30 quid a week. So what did you actually do?
Well,
you went to work. When you finished work, what did you do?
I washed up at my mother's house. My sister bought me a laptop, and there was internet in the house. And I started off doing a bit of research. The other thing was I had recently found out that getting punched, kicked, sleep deprivation, no food, in a relationship, and lots of other really bad shit crap. Yeah, well, I actually found out that was domestic abuse.
Yeah,
which came as a shock because I'd always been from school, from the media, I was always on the impression that domestic abuse was something that a man did to a woman. And whenever I'd spoken to medical professionals, psychologists about what was going on, they had said, no, hold on, we're not going to talk about that today, and brushed it under the carpet. And then...
Can I ask you, can I ask you, if you don't want to talk about this, just say you don't want to talk about it. What was your home life like as a child regarding your mother and father?
Perfect.
Perfect.
No,
I get what you mean. Not dysfunctional.
Yes. My mother and father dearly loved each other, respected each other, and how they would attempt to solve any problem was to do more for the other person. My mother wanted to do better for my dad, and my father wanted to do better for my mother.
So actually, perfect was very close to the mark.
Yeah.
So the other question is: so this 25-year relationship, was this your first relationship, or like your first significant one? Maybe I don't want to put words.
Probably, yeah. My first significant one, definitely the first time I lived with anyone. I had this started whenever I was like, the relationship started when I was like 18, 19. I lived at home, and then obviously with that, with the pregnancy thing.
Pregnancy is amazing.
Yeah, the vaginal turd.
So she locked you in. She got you locked in. When did it start going? Like, I mean, you wouldn't have known at the time, obviously, but looking back, when did you start thinking, no, again, I've contradicted myself. Looking back, when did it start going wrong?
I would say the night it was going wrong until the wedding day. Because the first time she physically hit me was about 3 minutes after we left the reception.
Wow. So she's locked. Did you have a shotgun wedding because of the pregnancy?
Yeah.
So she's got the baby. So that's, she probably, whether she knew or not, legally she's got a load over you now.
Yeah.
And then she gets the ring on her finger.
Yep.
And 3 hours later, she's clumped you.
Oh, no, not 3 hours, 3 minutes.
3 minutes later, she.
Yeah.
I mean,
we've done the typical thing.
Really?
Done the typical thing where people tie boots and cans and stuff to the back of the car and tie balloons to it, and you drive up the road and you go around the corner a bit, and you get out of the car and go around to the back and bend it down, taking all that stuff off, and next time getting clobbered in the back of the head with a handbag.
And was it out of the blue? Was there an argument or anything?
No, the mate was out of the blue. But apparently she'd had a stressful day.
Oh, well, of course. That's, you know.
Yep. You know,
and what a lot of people might not realise, I mean, I had a girlfriend physically attack me. And the thing is, it's not that you're a wuss or a wimp or anything, but you can't just knock out your girlfriend. You'll go to prison. And so you're in a very tricky situation.
Yeah, and the other thing is, like, we have just left the wedding. And a big part of me wants to take it back. You know, like you go into a shop and you bought something I don't really want. Can I get a refund? But
quickly, if you had Google in those days, how long? Hang on, we haven't fucked yet. Oh yes, you have. She's pregnant. Bollocks.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And
wow.
And from then on, it sort of became, let's try to keep her happy. And what can I do to make her happy? But it turns out there's nothing you can do to keep her happy because
they're narcissistic and they feed off of
and the argument comes not because of anything that you've done. It's not about the invisible bit of fluff on the carpet, you know, or the towels not being set right. It's I'm due an argument, so I'm going to have an argument, and I'll invent the reason for the argument around it.
Yeah. She had needs, and you're gonna fulfill them, and if that means breaking you, she doesn't care. I had a girlfriend give me I think you probably heard this story. She gave me a photo of Pamela Anderson, the classic iconic shot in the Stars and Stripes, when Pam Anderson was the pin-up of the era. And I knew as she went, "Hey, I've got you this."
It's a trap.
Yeah, I just thought, well, you know, where's the knives? Is there any glasses around? And she pulled. I mean, she was quite a big girl. She was a dancer, but not like a strong. Well, actually, she pulled the bathroom sink. She gave me this photo. She's left the room, and as she's gone out, I see her face just going red. Now in her head, that bastard, look at him looking at her. And I'm just like looking anywhere else but this picture of Pam Anderson. And she pulled the bathroom sink off of its fixings and threw it through the bathroom window. That was the start of Yeah, because of that. Because I had a picture of Pam Anderson she just gave me.
That is mental.
Yeah, and I felt like you did. I felt like I left my girlfriend of 8 years, my first love, for this woman because she put the perfect she'd done the perfect girlfriend routine. She was, perfect. And she also done a very, she's got the dark triad. She's Machiavellian, she's manipulative, she's psychotic, and she's narcissistic. And you get those three together, if you're near them, you're just going to break. You're just going to get destroyed. And she did,
Well, now, to get this sort of on the track, that's sort of an idea.
Sorry.
Here's where I want to get to, right? Because you're going.
You do well to interrupt me because I talk.
You're going like this. Well, maybe not. So I went to all the places, and there's no help because you're male, and got involved in the men's rights movement and started. There was a lot of dots that I had, and I was able to end.
Explicit that it was because you're a man. Were they saying that? All these different places that you
pretty much.
Okay.
Pretty much. Whenever you go, whenever they don't say it so much in the policy and stuff, but whenever you've got the end of the conversation, they go, "Yeah, I can understand. We hear a lot of that, but you're a single man with a job. Just get on with it."
Ironically, they're saying be a man. The same ideology that says masculinity is toxic. Well, now they want you to be it.
Yeah, but
get out there and make it happen, you weak man.
No. And then whenever you start to put the dots together, you come to realize that the system's not broke. the system's doing exactly what it's supposed to do.
Mm.
The system is designed whereby, as far as possible, at birth, every child gets assigned a father. That father is responsible for financially providing for it until adulthood. And it doesn't matter what happens to that father in the interim, provided he's providing for the child. And that's the system working perfectly. And the reason why I can do that comes down to male disposability, because that, as far as the system is concerned, you're a cog in the machine. Your job's to provide, and to hell with whatever that causes. And until we get rid of male disposability, we can't really get a lot changed. And unfortunately, male disposability is a Darwinian necessity.
Yeah, I mean, war is your example.
Yep.
And when you look at all the numbers of suicides, when you look at the deaths at work, and you know, it just shocks me when you hear the real hardcore feminists talking about how bad they got it, when they're actually the most sort of elevated, pampered, looked after and protected group of people history has known. And yet men are disposable, largely disposable.
How feminists, how patriarchy theory is described. Well, one version is that men have always used their greater bone density and muscle mass to take all the jobs of importance and influence. And the other one is that all men have always held all power and used that power for the betterment of all men and detriment of all women.
And it's such a, those ideas are so foreign to me as a man. You know, I don't know where this I don't know where this club exists. How do I get on with this one? You know?
I can actually get you a meme that gives you a better description of it.
Okay. While you're doing that, Osmeister says thanks. He's had his circumcision and he thinks they've done the procedure that you recommended to him. So there's a high five for getting your glands exposed there.
Excellent, Osmeister. I'm really glad to hear that.
There you go. That's what men are about. They talk about their glands with no shame.
Yep. Right. I'll get this.
Nice one, Osmeister. Thanks for that donation as well, mate. Nice to see. And I'm glad. I'm assuming it went well. And I know. Well, you wouldn't have had it done unless you had to. So well done. Right. I hope it turned out nice.
Yes.
I don't know what to say about it. How do I put that up? Yes, I can. I can do it like that. Look at that.
What get our experience?
Yeah, I just saw it.
Yeah, and you've got a small group of men at the top, and then you have women who are protected and elevated, and then you've got all the disposable men at the bottom.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, I mean, the classic is, why are there so many male CEOs? Well, there's not many CEOs for a start. So even if it was 100% of CEOs were men, you're still looking at like 0.001% of the population. And that's a great meme.
The other thing is, not a lot of people really want to put in the type of hours a CEO has to put in.
Yeah, it's a job for psychos.
Yeah, and there's no work-life balance on it. And to be perfectly honest with you, if I was given the choice, could I go to that factory every day for 30 years or stay home and watch Thomas the Tank Engine with my kids? I know where I am.
Yep. Well, I've got someone I've worked with for years. He's staff. And I said to him, because he does so much for the business, I said, you know how to run a business. I'm surprised you haven't done it. He went, no. He said, because when I finish work, I finish work. He said, you never stop working. He said, and I don't want that. And yeah, I get that. I understand that. It's interesting. Yeah. It's a cool meme, man. So you've come out of this relationship. You're still working. You're having to pay her off. I'm sure she's not leaving you alone just because you're out of the house. I imagine there's still endless grief from her. You're getting no support from anywhere, and once you're Googling any help out there for men, that's pretty. You're low. It's a low situation to be in. Okay, so carry on.
This is where one of the godsends was I bumped into good people in the men's rights movement, and one of the very early things I seen was Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Are you familiar with that?
I certainly am. I'm going to put it up on the screen as well. Unless you've got it there.
Yeah, I've got one. Here's another really interesting one. See, like 9 years ago, the images for Maslow's were a lot better than they are today.
Yeah, I'm just looking at a load and they're different and it's a bit weird. They're ideologically sort of shifting.
Yeah. Right. Hold on. Let me get this up. Here is a half decent one.
I'd rather you select this one because if I'd done it, it might be the wrong one.
Yeah.
I did just notice that. That's interesting.
Yeah. They have put all sorts of stuff in it and they've put sexuality into the bottom rung. But bisexuality, that means figuring out whether you're male, female, or what.
Oh, ridiculous. Oh, there you go. Nice one. How did you learn to do that? I didn't know guests could do that. Coming on here, hacking my screen. So can you explain Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
Right.
It makes sense.
Basically, it's a pyramid. And the most important thing is you don't go up a level until you've got the bottom level filled. Because then your bricks won't fit right. And you will be... It's not on a solid foundation. And
if your footing of your building isn't right, your roof's going to be fucked.
Right. Yeah. So first thing, air, water, food, shelter, sleep, clothing. Right. You need to be able to fill that by yourself before you can even think about personal security, employment, resources, health, and property.
And at this stage, you're there. You're at the bottom of that pyramid.
Yeah. Granted, I'm living in my mother's house. That does not count as shelter.
No.
Because at any given point, my parents could say, here, actually, do you know what? This doesn't work for us. Fuck off.
And also there's psychological issues when you're dependent on your parents when you're an adult. There's a lot going on there.
Yes, there's a hell of a lot. And until you're paying your own rent, paying your own mortgage, and buying your own food, everybody's got a hold on you. Because other people can make decisions for you. And decisions should not be made by committee. Now, granted, there are things whereby, like, I'm in a long-term relationship with MG. We decide jointly where we're going to go on holiday. Yeah. Because that's fit and proper. But where it's about whether you're going to eat, if you're going to eat, that's not so good. So you need to have all this bottom line in a row before you can sort of advance.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you don't, but you should. Because if you don't, like we said, you're building on shaky ground.
Where a lot of people go wrong is they come out of one bad relationship, they don't fill out their bottom needs, and they jump into the next relationship.
And it's the same as the one they just left.
Yeah. Well, at that point, a person doesn't need to be good. They just need to be less shit than the previous one. And that's where a lot of that's where the cycle comes in, where people go from one bad relationship to the next, to the next, to the next.
Yeah. 1 second, 42. So J-Boss is questioning the validity of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Now, and that's fair enough. You can obviously question everything, but Maslow's hierarchy of needs is used in many different fields of human development, and it seems to serve purposes that have shown themselves. Certainly in my experience, because we get this in rehab, and I've been to plenty of them. So yeah, people have refuted it, people have disputed it, understandably, and you're free to do that now. But that doesn't mean it hasn't got any value, because obviously 42 has been here. That's why he's happy to use it. We're not saying it's the truth. It's just an example of a certain way of progressing and developing from a certain situation.
Nothing's going to be the exact perfect way for everybody, but you can get a rough guide that could be modified.
Yeah.
Then you're moving up personal security, employment resources, where you've actually got access to your own money, for want of a better words.
42, so that my missus doesn't keep interrupting. Let me just tell her I'm doing a stream.
Yeah, go ahead. No worries. I just have a quick look in the chat while this is happening.
Apologies, 42, but if I didn't nip it in the bud, she'll keep trying.
Yeah, no worries. No worries.
You know what bloody women are like.
Yeah.
What's that? I'm getting a mad echo. Where's that echo coming from?
Right, hold on. I'll mute and see does this go away.
Ba, 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 ba.
Looks like Chris has stepped out for a minute. I'm going to. J-Bass doesn't have an echo.
Hello.
Toffee.
Yeah, we're
Hello.
good. So, no, I'm back.
Right, all good. Yep. Emma G's threatening to phone me.
I don't know what's going on.
Have you still got the echo?
All right, I think I've sorted it. So sorry, 42. It was my fault. It was me. Right, carry on.
So then you want to be getting a more permanent form of housing, something that doesn't matter whether it's rent or mortgage. The important thing is that you can make that payment every month, and go out and actually do stuff. This one's not actually perfect, but you need to also start doing some activity and have that recognized in some way or other. Like the other thing I did quite a lot of during this time was I wrote a lot of poetry, and I was entering online competitions and was getting good feedback and whatnot.
That's interesting. So you were kind of looking for some kind of identification.
Yeah. And the other thing I was doing was I was niggling at the government and doing bits and pieces and actually getting somewhere. One of the things that I did was I fell into all this. I ended up in contact with, again, with the human rights people, Northern Ireland Human Rights Commission, and they were doing a thing for Human Rights Day. And, yep. So, and I got myself onto their Fox Pop. It's a video that have like 6-7 people talking for 90 seconds.
Okay.
And, right. And so I got myself shoehorned into that. And what I didn't know at the time whenever I was doing it, that Foxpox ended up going into schools.
So amazing. I think you told me before, actually.
That ended up going into schools. They go around. I'm not sure if they still do it because we had COVID and then God knows what happened. But it went around schools, and so I got that topic for discussion, and they had handed somebody with a year and a half's worth of writing poetry, 90 seconds to say something. So it came out a bit more polished than everybody else's.
Okay, yeah. You knew your lines, they were rehearsed.
Well, not only that, I spent a good half hour and come up with a very hard-hitting message that hit their human rights message.
And were they expecting criticism, or were they expecting celebration, or neither?
What their brief was, talk for 90 seconds about what human rights means to you.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So you were essentially a cog in the works of this little flourish.
Yes. It's still on YouTube if you want to hear it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. How do we do that? What do I search?
No, 1 second, I'll get it.
Okay.
Right. I've a link here somewhere.
Yeah, you can pop it in the comments here.
Yeah, right.
Let me have a little wee, 42.
Yep, where you go. Well, give me a second to find this.
Might be that a little, because the appendage.
Right. Right. Find that. Get this in the comment, in the private chat. Right. Get back to the comments. Thank you very much, Mrs. Mia. She's saying I've got a nice voice. Paper. Right.
Apologies, people.
No worries.
Did you send me that link in the comments?
Oh, it's in the private chat.
Okay, there it is. That's the one I meant.
Right, and go to timestamp 2 minutes.
Okay. So there. This is just like a nice sort of come on here, and you're going to dock yourself, I imagine. Is your face?
No. Oh no!
Unless that's you. Unless that's you.
No! It's done that shadow thing.
Okay. Right. Hang on. This is. I thought that was you. I thought I didn't have you.
Right.
Looking like that.
Right. I think that's probably about 5 to 10 seconds before I come in.
That's all right. It'll give people a bit of time to adjust. Now, I am having a little bit of trouble with my audio because StreamYard have changed it all. So let me know. Look at 42. That's spot on 2 minutes. I thought, Jesus.
Yeah, you get like about 5-10 seconds a person before and then me.
That's all right. We'll have it because it might give us a sense of what the stream was like before.
It'll give you a difference between what I'm talking about and what everybody else was talking about.
There you go. Now, if you can let me know in the chat that you can hear it, I'm going to mute myself now so you don't get an echo, and I'll just let it roll. But let me know you can hear it. Should be all right.
To give it a lot of thought because it wasn't an easy question.
Right. Could you hear that, people? That old dear said it was not an easy question. I'm just waiting for someone to tell me they could hear it. 42. It was only a couple of words. There's a bit of a drag on the StreamYard comments.
Slide the thing along and see how far it is before the next person comes in.
All right. Hang on. Yeah, we could hear that. Okay, so oh yeah, you're right. It's quite a long time.
Yeah, I could.
Okay, that's you, is it?
Yeah, that's
so we'll
me.
take it. We'll hear the end of this old dear. Yeah. We'll put it there. Okay, here we go, people. So this isn't 42. 42's after this old dear. That's what he's telling us anyway.
Yeah.
42 is trans. Here we go.
More or less sorted that way, but otherwise, I just think I have all my human rights, really.
I just needed to stop there because, as 42 said, they weren't expecting his bit, and this woman is just. Did you hear the music? La, ding, ding, ding. And I have all my human rights. This is going to be lovely. I think I've seen this before, actually, 42, but we'll let it play. Yeah. Amazing.
I was abused verbally, physically, financially, or psychologically every day for 25 years, but not once did the term violation of human rights cross my mind. My only concern was getting through the next hour. Rights are like muscles. Without exercise, they disappear, but they must be exercised in a safe environment. In Northern Ireland, there are refuges for women, shelters for cats and dogs, sanctuaries for donkeys. Birds, wildlife, plant and fauna are protected, and yet there is no shelter for male victims of domestic abuse. Until that changes, these men will continue to enjoy no human rights whatsoever and thus remain less than human.
To me, human rights...
Everyone at Master Control Central, shut it down! Shut it down! That's amazing. Well, they've got refuges for cats and dogs, but not for men. That's amazing.
Yeah, the donkey sanctuaries is the one that always got me.
Yeah, there you go. For the old glue factory, but nothing. So there was nothing for you? Nothing?
No, nothing, nada.
No.
And that was probably 9-10 years ago. And there is still not one bed space for a male victim of domestic abuse in Ireland, north or south.
Not one?
Not one.
In the whole of... I get confused.
Yeah,
so not your bit and not in Arklow's bit.
Yeah, nothing.
And what's it like in England? Do you know off the top of your head?
This is where it gets confusing. I know that Wales has got one bed space, verified.
One, though. Just one. And of course, though, and this is where it gets really confusing, identify as a woman and see if you can get into that place full of women who've been abused by men.
Right. Scotland, at my last count, had 7 bed spaces.
7. I mean, let's not play this down. I'm 50 years old. I've been to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 universities, 20 plus rehabs. I've met a lot of men. Yeah. And I've met a lot of men who've been in relationships where the woman has abused them, whether it be physically, mentally, or a bit of both, but broken them. And you literally have got nothing in Northern or Southern Ireland and one in Wales.
In England, there are apparently 15 shelters for men. Apparently. Now, what we're not 100%.
They could be things like wet houses and that. They could be things like.
Yes.
If you're in trouble, they're the last places you want to go to. I visited a mate in a wet house. Now they take all their dole checks so they can get their bit out, and then they go and buy them their special brew. It's just like, wow. So why is you saw my thumbnail?
Yeah.
The men's rights movement got so much shit online by men as well.
Yeah.
A lot of right-wing people slag it off. A lot of left-wing people slag it off. I think when people saw my thing, that's a joke, right? I think a lot of people understood what I meant. It's like, Johnny Elam and all that lot.
That probably comes down to the stages of grief. Right?
Well, explain that.
Hear me out. Are you familiar with the stages of grief?
Yeah, not in the right order though, off the top of my head, but I know what you mean. Yeah.
Okay. Right.
I'll get negotiating, accepting, and all that lot.
Right. Hold on. We'll throw this up.
Yes, I do mean that, spam bot. But there's dry houses and there's wet houses, and trust me, there's a chasm between the two.
Right, we'll throw this up. There you go. You can share that if you want.
There you go.
Right.
There you go.
We have a lot of men who have got as far as finding out that although they've been told forever and a day that it's a man's world and every day is men's day and men have it great, they've found out that that's not quite so. And they start off and no, fuck, it couldn't be like that. And I was like that myself. I must have just fell through the cracks. There must be something I'm missing. All I've got to do is talk to a couple of politicians and this will get sorted, which turned out to not be the case. I had an hour-long sit-down with the First Minister of Northern Ireland. And he accepted everything that I said, but there's no provisions happen. So they start off, they do not have anger, and they're now at the bargaining stage. And they think if they just say the right things to the feminist campaign, that they'll be accepted and things will improve.
42, is it because there's it doesn't really carry much sort of voter power, you know? As Nirab just said, then men are just supposed to suck it up, you know. Yep. Don't tell me this is hitting me, you know. Okay. Just leave or just do that. And so, if one of the parties was to say in our manifesto, we're going to make sure that men who are victims of domestic violence, I know men who'd laugh at that. Right, I just do.
What happens to a society that has the same compassion for its sons as it does for its daughters? Have a genuine think about that.
I am. It's a very interesting question.
Right, because that means you can no longer send your sons outside the gates whenever the wild beasts or the barbarians come calling.
There you go. Yeah.
It means that. Well, I'll tell you the first thing. You're going to need to make sure that every child that's born knows who its biological father is. Because at the minute, children are assigned a father at birth.
But also, what about war?
Yeah.
Because you're going to significantly weaken your nation's ability to defend itself if you're military, frontline military. I do think there's a place for women in the military. I just don't think it's at the front line.
Well, your whole foreign policy is going to have to change. You're going to have to do a lot more diplomacy. But if Western Europe, or Western Europe had the same compassion for their sons as they did for their daughters, whenever somebody executed the Archduke Franz Ferdinand, they all would have had to get together and say, right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to find out who it was done this. We're going to put them through a criminal court. We're all going to stay in our own countries. But no, what we'll do, we'll fucking launch the greatest war ever and kill a couple of hundred, what was it, 20 million? I don't know how many died in that war.
Yeah, I don't
it changes the whole society. And society is driven by two main factors. One's male disposability, because in order to create anything new, there's going to be an element of male disposability. Perfect example being a parachute. Because you can't say to somebody, jump out of this aircraft with a backpack and a couple of strings attached to it and it will open up and you'll float down.
So just about this male disposability thing. So are you accepting of that as a just a natural condition of society that we should defend, or is this it's kind of confusing for me because I don't want that distinction between men and women to be erased.
Yeah.
I think one half of that, you know, where women are more risk averse, you know, they've got kids to look after. They are a womb.
Yes, but it definitely needs to calm down. And the other thing is we need to teach young men to choose the correct burden upon which to be disposable.
There you go. That's a fantastic answer. One of the wisest things you've ever said. That's amazing.
Yep.
That's amazing. And of course, that's made next to impossible in a feminized education system.
Yeah. And it also doesn't help that you've got people like Jordan Peterson talking to millions of young men saying, put your shoulders back, fly right, pick up a burden and go with it. Don't care about whether or not it's the right burden for you, whether it should fail on you. Just pick up a burden and go with it. It's all going to be fine. Without first saying that, by the way, you're carrying that burden through a minefield and you might want to be a bit careful about what it is you've actually picked up and where you plant your feet. And look at your own best interest, maybe now and again.
I mean, he's such a weird figure. Devon Tracy years ago stopped talking to me because I was talking positively about Jordan Peterson, and Devon's a good friend of mine. And it took me a few years to get it, but you know, he perpetuates real kind of liberal ideas, Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, but the other thing is he was heavily involved in Agenda 21.
Go on, explain.
Right, he wrote the foreword for Agenda 21, and his,
so when you say heavily involved,
yeah, heavily involved. He wrote the foreword for it. He was involved in doing the wordsmith for it, and his job is to quote, and this is Peterson's quote, change the thinking of millions of young men.
The Autumn Stone thinks that that's a stretch of an interpretation of Peterson's messages. I disagree with that, Autumn Stone. I've really had a look at Peterson over the last couple of years, and it is very much. I mean, 42 put it in amazing. Said it amazingly. Yes, there is a certain disposability because we are high risk. We take risks, physically stronger, blah blah blah. But you need to know. You need to know why you're going to take those risks. You don't just jump off bridges because you can.
Yeah,
I think that's fair enough.
The other thing about choosing burdens, if you're doing something because you actually love that person, it's not a burden. If you're doing something to better the life of your wife, partner, children, whatever, that's not really a burden because the end goal is a better life for them and also for you, and that's not a burden. A burden's whenever you do something begrudgingly in order to help somebody that you don't really want to do.
And I think a dysfunctional relationship is a perfect example of that, where you'll do anything for the other person, not because you love them, not to advance the relationship, but just so that you don't have another night in hell with them.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And
I mean, while we're on it, let's not forget that when Jordan Peterson's wife was diagnosed with cancer, he got on the Xanax and he's been milking that for 3 years. He's still on them, by the way. I almost guarantee it, allegedly.
Oh, he's been on head meds from adolescence.
I'm not judging anyone for taking drugs here, by the way.
Neither am I. But
go on.
My problem with Jordan Peterson is he's a pathological liar. He, by his own admission, he will say whatever he thinks people want to hear at that given time. That's Peterson said that. It's in his book 21 Rules for Life. He also
Machiavellian approach to things. I can still hear you. I've just got to go over there. Keep talking.
And he also said that he lies all the time, but most of the time he can ferret out the lie, doesn't know what he's talking. It is, and that's fine, but my problem with that is he's telling young men how to live their lives, and I don't think he's doing a particularly good job. And he says absolutely nothing about the risks, and he was particularly scathing about MGTOW men. Said that they're weasels, and if they have a problem with women, that's because they're the problem. And
Yeah, there's that.
you know,
He's also got a real problem with white collectivism, which is obviously a concern. I mean, why explicitly just white collectivism? He doesn't mind going on about his tribal relationships and that man who he loves and he's dedicated a room in his house to him. But if you're white and you want to collectivize, oh no, that's awful. That's an awful thing to do.
Yeah, and every time he gets into a sticky situation, he goes on YouTube or TV and has a bit of a cry.
And that is why I think he's still on Xanax. He exhibits symptoms of benzodiazepine dependence, over emotional responses to things.
Yeah, but
disproportionately.
No, but he's using cry. He's using the little cry as a tool the same way that women do.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of it like that, but as soon as you said it, I knew where you were going.
Yeah.
I mean, he's fucking good at it, though. It's so convincing. I saw him talking about something that I feel strongly about the treatment of young boys and schooling, and his lips started warbling. But I suddenly thought, hang on a minute, and exactly what you just said. I thought, do you need to do this?
But here's the interesting. Here's the difference between Jordan Peterson and a men's rights advocate. He was told, but your followers are you have a load of followers who are incels, and you engage with that bag of deplorables. And his response with that was to have a bit of a cry and say, but I wanted to talk to the young man. Now, someone who's actually interested in bettering the lives of young men would go, here, hold on a minute. Whenever incels were first coined, that was people who were disabled. Kid hit me a car at 14 years old, nothing works from the neck down. He's never going to be having sex, but he needs to find some way to get through his life.
Interesting. I never knew that. So the origin of involuntary celibate was disabled people.
Well, not just disabled people. There's a whole range, like disabled people that are in long-term relationships that are sexist for one reason or another. People who right down through to people that are socially awkward, failed to launch, and are over 25, living in their mother's basement, and they're not going to be getting a relationship because
it's a low status position to be in a competitive market. I think
so. We had the wheelchair guys talking to the failure to launch guys and saying, actually, do you know what? you ain't. I can understand where you're coming from, but have a look at me. For God's sake, go to the gym, lift a weight, because you've got a body that can do that and I can't, and you could actually turn that around. Or even the likes of Aaron Clary, asshole consultant, who gets people and he goes, I've seen a picture of you. Do you know what? Do you know why you can't get a girl? Because you look fucking creepy. Could you maybe try to not look creepy? Could you do a bit of work on yourself? Could you improve yourself?
Yeah.
And we had that. That's what incels were. Now, whenever the Elliot Rodgers thing kicked off, for those of you that don't know, Elliot Rodgers was a sociopath who went off the deep end, wrote a manifesto, went out and shot, I think it was 3 men and 2 women. They tried to link him to the men's rights movement, which was unsuccessful because nobody in the men's rights movement knew who he was. He had nothing to do with us. And what they then did was they hung on the fact that one of his complaints was he couldn't get a girlfriend. And they went, oh, he can't get a girlfriend. He's involuntarily celibate. And the press and the likes of Piers Morgan that he was doing the interview with moved Elliot Rodgers and people like him into the incel camp, and then all the other people classed them as the same as Elliot Rodgers.
Okay, yeah.
And overnight, a whole load of forums on Reddit and stuff appeared that nobody had ever seen before. I'm pretty sure the space station could see them glowing from space, and they subverted the term. And
okay, right.
And much
42, we've got 30 minutes left,
right?
And I want you to get to the nub of it. I mean, it's after midnight here.
Right. Well, this
is a 5-hour conversation. I promise you now, we'll do another one.
Yeah,
because I could listen to this all day. It's just the reality of having
there is a reality of time. It's very late where you live, and also I need to go to work at some stage this evening.
No, I'm busier than you. I'm busier than you.
No, well, yes, you are. You've booked the right.
Come on, fuck you. but it's really, I think that might even be a stream in its own. We'll maybe get Devon on, me, you, and Devon, and do a Jordan Peterson stream. Get some videos and some quotes.
Have you seen the pictures of Jordan Peterson in makeup?
I don't want to. I don't. Just the thought of it is upsetting.
Oh, right, Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson had his daughter, Michaela, who is full grown, put makeup on him, and then he posted the picture to the internet for some reason. I'd get real that grief one now.
Now, that Michaela Peterson, she has spoken so many times about the nightmare it was getting help for her father's terrible affliction with drugs.
Yeah.
And they've got millions in the bank, that family. And I've written to her so many times saying, let me come on and tell you what it's like trying to get help when you've got no father, you've got no money, and there's nothing. And she of course she won't go near it, because they fucking flew him around the world. It's just, sounds terrible, sounds terrible. But yet they convincingly, as a pair, made it sound like, we were at our wits' end. Just stop taking the Xanax. Come on, that's what addiction is.
But
you like them. And when he said, what was I know I'm going to go down there. I'll put an extra 10 minutes on. Yeah. But he described it as you might know the 2-word phrase. If anyone can remember, it's not parody. It's a word like that. Anyone in the chat know how he described the effect of the Xannies? Nice one, Quadrex. That's really appreciated, mate. The grift is on, people, by the way. A parasitic. No. I'm just looking in the chat because someone will know. God, don't worry. I'll remember it in a minute. Crack on with where you were going. Sorry.
Yeah. Fucking lost my train of thought. Where was I going? No, I just think that
I said me, you, and Devon should do a Jordan Peterson stream.
Yes. Oh, right. Then I went on the makeup thing.
That's it.
There's
paradoxical. He said that he had a paradoxical effect, right? Because Quadrex, thank you, mate. I'm absolutely brassic, so that's amazing. He said he had a paradoxical effect, which he described as one in a few, I can't remember the numbers, but very rare, that you take benzos and rather than sedate you like they're meant to, diazepam, clonazepam, alprazolam, which is Xanax, there's the benzos, the PAMs, we could call them. He had this paradoxical effect. But I'll tell you who had, that's it, Ben, nice one. I'll tell you who has paradoxical reactions to benzos. People who are carrying around loads of emotional baggage. And what happens is you take them to sleep, but because when you take them, that you chemically cannot be anxious. And so because that anxiety lifts, the last thing you want to do is go to sleep because you're like, fucking hell, life brilliant. Life's amazing. It's not some weird sort of psychiatric, a paradoxical effect. No, you just like Jordan, you just like them. And that's it. And you felt so guilty because your missus was dying of cancer that you had to pretend you had some paradoxical reaction. I'm not buying it.
Did you hear about his reaction to apple cider?
No, go on. Is this real?
Right. No, this is real. This is on a Joe Rogan podcast, right? So Peterson's talking to Joe Rogan, and he tells Joe Rogan that he had this effect to apple cider, and he lived in terror and did not sleep for about 30 days.
What? Because he got drunk?
No, he didn't even say he got drunk. He just had this reaction to the cider.
Oh, I don't know.
Right.
I mean, it's a shame because he's also, when he does his lectures, they're actually very good. He knows what he's talking about, but it's this other side that he's almost like a Trojan horse of ideology.
He was every bit as convincing trying to tell Joe Rogan that he stayed awake for 30 days because of a reaction to apple cider as he was in any of his lectures.
Right, that's frightening.
Yeah. Look up Cider of Doom. It's quite famous.
What is it? Cider of Doom?
Cider of Doom.
I mean, I've smoked half ounce of crack a day, and even by day 12, 13, even on the pipe, you're falling asleep. You just physically can't stay up any longer.
Yeah. Oh, well,
here we go. 2-minute little meme, yeah?
Yeah.
Jordan Peterson and the Cider of Doom. We'll have a look at this. Great stuff. Hang on. I'll add a few minutes on to the end because I have dragged us over here a bit. Give me a couple of seconds. No. How do I make that big? It won't go bigger. It's not. I haven't found it on YouTube. I've found. Right. Is it on YouTube?
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
All right, I won't use that version in 1 second. Sorry, mate. Sorry, how did I miss all this? Probably because I stopped listening to him. I don't watch Joe Rogan either.
It's actually surprisingly well hidden.
Okay, so the one that I just saw, that isn't that one. Jordan Peterson and the Cider of Doom doesn't come up as well. I mean, I've got him just telling the story about it. Is that the one we want? On Joe Rogan?
Yeah, on Joe Rogan, yep.
But it doesn't actually say the Cider of Doom. Oh, it says funny apple cider story. Should we go with that?
Yeah, that's right, because... Yeah, Peterson got a lot of stuff taken down with keywords and stuff.
No, incredible. Again, people, we might have issues with the audio, so I'll just let it play and let me know in the comments. So
yeah, this looks very like it.
Funny. Yeah, let me know 42 if it isn't when it starts.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not a nutritionist either. But what's fascinating to me is I haven't heard any negative stories about people doing this.
Well, I have a negative story.
Okay.
One of the things that both Michaela and I noticed was that when we restricted our diet and then ate something we weren't supposed to, the reaction to eating what we weren't supposed to was absolutely catastrophic.
What did you do? What did you switch to? What did you eat, rather?
Well, the worst response, I think we're allergic to, whatever the hell this is, having an inflammatory response to something called sulfites. And we had some apple cider that had sulfites in it. And that was really not good. Like I was done for a month. That was the first time I talked to Sam Harris.
You were done for a month?
Oh, yeah. It took me out for a month. It was awful.
Really?
Yeah. So I would say,
so this is right before this whole truth conversation with Sam Harris that got stuck in the mud. During.
So I think the day I talked to Sam was like the worst day of my life. Not because of talking to Sam, but it was
just physically.
Oh, Jesus, I was so dead. But I didn't want to not do it. Because
apple cider, like what was it doing?
Sulfites in it.
What was it doing to you?
Oh, it produced an overwhelming sense of impending doom. And I seriously been overwhelmed. Like there's no way I could have lived like that if that would have lasted for... See, Michaela knew by that point that it would probably only last a month. And I was like...
A month?
Yeah,
from
a month.
Fucking cider?
Oh, I didn't sleep that month. I didn't sleep for 25 days. I didn't sleep at all.
No, that's right.
I didn't sleep at all for 25 days.
How is that possible?
I'll tell you how it's possible. You lay in bed, frozen in something approximating terror for 8 hours, and then you get up.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah. Not
and
good.
This is from fucking...
No, I'm not buying it. I'm just not buying it.
Yeah, but... My problem's this: he is every bit as serious about that as he is about everything else. and it calls into question all this other stuff, because if that's an act, which part of what he's saying is act and which part is not? Fuck.
I know what you mean. Where does the performance end and the person start?
Yeah, it's. There was somebody asked a question in the chat quite a while ago, so we're not going to be able to find it. But as we're getting closer to the end, what he asked was there anything I'd actually achieved? Which is a fair question. I have got some changes to the domestic abuse provisions in Northern Ireland. I'm hoping to get some more. The consultations coming around again, where every time the government brings out a policy or whatever, you get to respond to their consultation, their proposals, and ask them for different things. So I've got a couple of bits of change in that. I got the housing executive to prioritise male victims of domestic abuse in housing provision. I've got several people on an individual level housed.
How did you do all this? Hello, Anglo.
Do you know what Nigel and Bill does in the chat?
I certainly do. Yes, Nigel.
Yeah, well, I did that to the politicians.
There you go. But you must have had some kind of what's the word? Leverage. I mean, no,
yeah,
maybe you didn't.
Well, I would say I also got pretty lucky. Because the first thing I did was the first Christmas after I escaped, the police service in Northern Ireland did their yearly campaign for prevention of domestic abuse, and they had the launch. Women's Aid were there, and the chief constable said, "We've got the victims at the heart of this. We've got Women's Aid here." So on a Sunday night, I sent an email to that police chief constable, the Justice Minister, and the Health Minister, saying, blah, 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 you've got half the victims there because there are male victims also. And nothing really came back from that. And I ended up talking to another politician who was in the Traditional Unionist Voice party. And he had asked me what it was like living in abuse, and I'd sent him an email or a message, blah, blah, blah. Here's a typical example. And he sent back saying, this is absolutely horrendous, blah, blah, blah. And I had said to him that I had contacted the Justice Department, which is in a party that they would be opposed to.
Were you already entrenched in the men's rights movement at this stage? Okay, so you had a bit of assistance or encouragement or something.
Yep. I also had knowledge, because I'm not sure what's like now, somebody going in, but the first thing that happens whenever you start communicating forums and stuff in the men's rights movement is people tell you to go and read stuff. Right. Like the Duluth model. Go find out where that came from. Right. And you go,
Can you explain the Duluth model, because it's shocking?
Right. Duluth's a town in Michigan where a group of psychologists came together to create a model for prevention of domestic abuse. They did a study on 5 people, 3 female victims, 2 male perpetrators, and they came to the conclusion that the reason why there's domestic abuse is because men expect services and goods of women, and society is quite happy for them to.
Yeah. So society colludes with men's entitlement to sex. That was the guess after talking to 5 people.
Yeah.
And then that went into policy.
Yes, that went into policy.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, this is how governments sort of work out their policy for domestic abuse. The other one that they will use, the Duluth one's been quite heavily criticised. So there's another domestic abuse model called the Carol Hagman White model for prevention of domestic abuse, which governments will use.
I still hear feminists quoting the Duluth model, though.
Yeah.
I still hear it mentioned.
Yep. They'll generally use the Duluth model on online forums and stuff, but whenever they win the governments, they default to Hagman White because it hasn't been debunked and criticised. Although, whenever I was doing my response to the Northern Ireland domestic abuse policy, I ripped the Carol Hagman White model apart because it's basically Duluth with a different format, and they had to take that out.
Oh, what? Because of the work you done?
Yeah.
Amazing. So these are real victories.
Yeah.
Incredible.
They changed 2 or 3 bits of the domestic abuse policy they were going to bring in, and they got in touch with the housing executive and ensured that they gave the extra points to male victims fleeing, because the Justice Department were saying that would happen in their policy, but the housing executive were claiming they knew nothing about it, so it made them actually do what they said they were going to do.
Wow. That's incredible. I'm just blown away at that you had loads of results. Raymond, thanks for that donation. I've just been through all of the chats and I can't find another one from you. I'm not saying it's not there, but I have just been through them all. So let's Quadrex says Peterson puts apples in his bonzo vinegar. Thank you, Quadrex.
The other thing is, in 2013, then that sent it off to the Justice Department, got nothing back, spoke to somebody from another political party, and I told them that sent the email and got nothing back. And they says, do you have the email? And I says, oh, yes, I still do. So I sent that to the other politician. He nobbled the Justice Minister and in Stormont and said, here, I have a fella here writing about male victims of domestic abuse. Says he sent you a letter about an email about how you go about prevention and men not being included. And he goes, I don't think I got that email. And he goes, well, here, I have a copy of it and handed it to him. So
I've got it here.
Yeah. So two days later, I got a reply from the Justice Minister, dear Mr. Two, I have read your email and we are currently having a consultation document on domestic abuse. And if you would like to, about that, yes. Well, if you would like to contact such and such, you can go in for a meeting. And the other thing that happened was they also pulled the police chief constable. And from 2014, every police service in Northern Ireland domestic abuse campaign has been gender neutral. There's been male victims, male perpetrators, female victims, female perpetrators.
Wow. I mean, still nowhere to go, but that is quite the change. So I don't really want to wrap this up. Let's do another 15 minutes.
Right. Here's
can you do that?
Yep. Oh, yeah. Here's another interesting one.
Yeah, go for it.
Right. Do you know in Back to the Future, they're always going back and changing really minor things, and it changes the whole future?
Yeah.
Well, you can actually do that in the present and change the future. right? Because
Oh.
really minor thing I did, right? So I went along 2014. I went along to a Belfast City Councillor and asked her to put in a thing for an event for International Men's Day at Belfast City Hall.
Whoa, say it
Right.
slower, man. It sounded good.
Right. She asked her to put a proposal for an event for International Men's Day
Okay, yeah.
by Belfast City Council. Right?
Yeah.
Amazing. She done that. We actually had the event. As part of that, I had an hour-long sit-down with Peter Robinson, the First Minister at the time. And I also did a document.
How have you got this again? Because of your, how are you getting these repeated meetings? Because by now they must be thinking, "I'm not this bastard again. He's got us by the Jordan curlies."
Right. Well,
no, I'm with you. Thank you, Spambot. Toffee, I'm with you. I'll stretch it out a bit more. It's too good. But you know, can people just write to the government and say, "I want a meeting with you"?
Yes, they can.
But it don't work, does it? But how did you get all this? An hour? What with Tui?
Yeah, well, I started with the local councillor, right? It's a very small ask. Would you put this proposal in? And she went, "Yes, I will." So from that, she put the proposal in. Belfast City Council approved it. So I'm now talking to Belfast City Council, that councillor who's in the party that the First Minister is in, right? So they're both DUP.
And were you advised on this sort of strategy by people in the UK or Ireland?
No, I did the same thing as you did starting up your business. I just figured it out.
Okay, amazing. It is really amazing.
So, as part of and then whenever it was coming close to the date of the event, I got a meeting with the First Minister in order to invite him to go to the event and open it, which meant I got an hour-long sit-down with him.
So you got the Irish Minister to officially open the Men's Rights Day thing.
The International Men's Day event. The only
Hang on 1 second. Isn't that quite a political thing to do? Was there not any protest? Did the feminists not come out or anything?
Well,
the witches not come out of their
funny shit, Matt. Right. I'll come to that. Right. So I'll put this story in order. Right.
I just can't imagine you getting a government minister to, it's Men's Rights Day, and it all went smoothly. I just can't see it.
Well, I had spent about 6 months talking to Belfast City Council and having meetings back and forth about how this day should work and getting different people. Paul Ellen was set to do a video for the keynote speech.
Is Paul Ellen, I mean, I don't understand the hierarchy of it, but he's considered the sort of spokesman for the movement. But is he actually? I don't know how it works at that level.
Paul Ellen runs A Voice for Men, the website, which is the largest men's rights movement website by far.
Have you got any idea of numbers, or would you be guessing?
It would be a total guess.
Okay, there's no point with that then. Okay, but A Voice for Men around that Cassie J Red Pill time.
One second, I need to address something here. Tony has said, "Are Catholics allowed in your men's tights?" Tony, the first person I got housed. Bear in mind, I live in Unionist East Belfast. The first person I got housed was a Catholic Irish nationalist from the Falls Road.
Good Lord, let's not go down that road.
Right, no, it's just...
It's not bad enough.
I just wanted to address that. It's not about religion.
I think it's important. It's fair enough. I was only joking.
Yeah,
okay,
right. So I'm having meetings with Belfast City Council. Paul Allen is slated to do a video for the opening, for the keynote. Peter Robinson at this point has agreed to open it. This is the first government paid for and participated International Men's Day event in the world.
So they funded it as well. I didn't
Oh yeah,
realize
oh
that. Wow.
yeah. We got $6,000 to fund this.
Wow.
We
It's
we asked
incredible.
we asked them for the same amount of funding that was given to International Women's Day
Yeah, why would
earlier in the
you?
year. Yep, and they gave us that. Really interesting, very quick one. What we did with that was we hired Belfast Castle for the event. We put on a breakfast, we put on a lunch. We did all of that. What they done with their $6,000 for International Women's Day was they put on 4 speakers. And the only place that we can figure out where that money went was in £1,500 speaker fees each.
Hang on a minute. So you spent your money on hiring a castle, and you probably had all your paperwork.
Yeah.
And they just got 4 women to talk in a room at the town hall or something.
To be fair, they did not hand me the money and then I spent it. Belfast City Council paid for everything out of their pocket, but it was inside that $6,000 budget, and that's what we had to spend. Right.
Wow.
So no money actually came directly to me, but they paid for everything to do with the day.
Yeah, I get you. Amazing.
I had done a video for Men's Rights Northern Ireland content for the event. I had a guy called John Gormley coming up from Men's Human Rights Ireland to do a talk about suicide. And 14 days out, Belfast Feminist Network sent a letter to every Belfast City Councillor saying this 42-rat bastard is a foul misogynist and shouldn't be allowed and all that crap.
No doubt they had loads of evidence on the back for that.
Yeah, they did. They read my blog. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I had. It's a very minor, but it's the same thing. When I'd done my Edinburgh show, Sex Tourist, which the joke was there was no sex in it because I relapsed and there was no sex in it. That was why it was funny. And I had the Feminist Avengers. They sent me, Jimmy Carr, and Jim Jeffries a courgette. The Feminist Avengers, they were called. And I got this through the mail, and I thought, what the fuck? And I've opened it up. There was a bit of paper in there from Dear Chris Dangerfield from the Feminist Avengers. Go fuck yourself. Okay,
Yeah.
Thanks.
So
I actually cooked it in a curry. So they actually got busy on trying to what's the word? Smear you.
Yep. Oh, they successfully smeared me. I've got their internal communications about what they were saying whenever they were going to write the letter. I don't have the letter because the only city councillor that didn't get the letter, the email, was the one that had proposed the event. And what happened was the event went ahead and my content, Men's Human Rights Ireland content, and Paul Adams' content was pulled from the event.
Okay.
Although,
was that something you had to agree with? Were they like, look?
Oh no, they were like, you're done. This ain't happening.
Wow.
Very sorry, but it was all stuff that they had previously cleared.
Yeah, right.
And they just didn't want the hassle. Although
But who were these feminists? Were they an organisation? Were they an
Belfast Feminist Network?
And so have they got a bit of clout in?
Sort of. Obviously, it was what they did. What they did was they gave the councillors that didn't want it to happen the ammunition to not pull the event, but change it.
42. Do men's rights organisations try to stop feminist conferences? No. I guessed that, and yet, why would you? Because let's hear them, because they're ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I've known of countless examples like Cassie J's Red Pill. Oh yeah, we're gonna have it on in this cinema. No, you ain't.
The first international conference on men's issues in Oh,
Australia, was
Detroit? No, Detroit. It had to have a venue change because they had threatened to blow up the hotel.
And that's what Cassie J got, didn't she? About there was like fire and bomb threats about just showing her film.
Yep.
But isn't it amazing that the men's rights movements waste no time or effort trying to shut down feminist conferences? But that's probably top of the agenda for the feminists.
Yeah. Their problem is we've got better arguments.
Yeah, of course.
But so anyway, as part of that, I'd done this document for the First Minister of Northern Ireland, DUP, Peter Robinson. His secretary obviously read it first, then gave it to him, he read it, and he said, actually, this is very good, get that sent to all our people. So all the DUP member of parliament, councillors had all seen this document. And it was something that they could always refer back to if they had issues on something about men's issues or whatnot. So that's all right. Anyway, in 2015, Philip Davies, Prime Minister, Member of Parliament for Shipley West Midlands, was looking to get a debate for International Men's Day in the Houses of Parliament. And in order to get that, he had to get a number of signatures on a list, and he had to have cross-party support. Now, he'd put down his proposal, went to the Labour Party. They were like, no, we're not supporting this. Green Party, we're not supporting this. Every other party was like, no, we're not supporting. And that's how they shut it down, because there's
it's ridiculously ideological, because there's no defending that. What, men's rights? What, men shouldn't have them? No? Is that what you're saying?
Right. But in the lobby were the 8 DUP members of Parliament. So he went over to them and said, hello, quite sheepishly, hello, I'm trying to get a debate on men's issues. And the DUP went, oh, yes, we know about this because it read my thing.
Right.
And they were like, and yes, just male suicide, blah, 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 blah. Now, we'll sign that. So they signed it, which meant he could go to the committee and say, I want to have this debate. And this is the famous one where Philip Davies puts forward the proposal for a debate for men's issues on International Men's Day. And Jess Phillips laughs at the thought.
That's right. Yeah, I remember, as if it's ridiculous that such a thing could happen.
Now, I know for a fact that Philip Davies couldn't have went without the DUP signatures, because he's told me. I met him at the International Men's Conference in London. And I know that the DUP members wouldn't have signed it apart from having read my report. So if I hadn't wrote that report, Sargon of Akkad wouldn't have got banned from Twitter.
There you go. Yeah, we can watch that. I think this is the clip. Hang on, let's just have a little look. I think this is it. Apologies if it's not. It's a couple of minutes, but I mean, just mind-blowing. So we all know Jess Phillips, and if you don't, you've done well to avoid it. Here we go. Let me know you can hear it, please, people.
Because, of course, not only do we have International Women's Day, we also have...
And that's your man, Philip Davis, right there, yeah?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Right, there you go. So I'll take it back again. You could hear that, everyone, I'm sure. Here we go.
Because, of course, not only do we have International Women's Day, we also have women and equality questions every month in the Chamber, which we don't have for men. So the opportunity for men to raise issues that are important to them is very limited. And just to give you a flavour, Mr. Chairman, of the type of things that may come up and which will be part of International Men's Day, I'm not entirely sure why it's so humorous, but to discuss issues such as...
You have to excuse me for laughing, that the idea that men don't have the opportunity to ask questions in this place is a frankly laughable thing. As I say, as the only woman on this committee, it seems like every day to me.
Well, I wasn't making, with respect, I wasn't making that point. I wasn't making the point that men don't have an opportunity to ask. I was about men's issues. There's a very big difference between men raising issues and the raising of men's issues.
That one could raise men's issues in any single one of the question sessions. So your men's health, absolutely. So prostate cancer, that could be raised in men's questions, couldn't it?
What? It's such a dull argument. What? You can talk about prostate cancer another day. What a witch. What a witch.
Yeah.
So we are going to have to wrap up. So let's get, we are going to do another one of these if you're up for it.
Oh, yeah,
because
definitely.
I don't think we're even a quarter of the way into the story. So where, at what point, I don't really know where to go here because I don't want to jump too much. I'll leave it up to you. This is your 5-minute closer.
I
can ask you a question if you want.
Right. If anyone wants to try and figure out where the state of things are now, go on to Facebook, go on to Twitter, go on to anything, and just put the comment, men are people too, and see what the responses you get are.
Okay, so men are people too is much the same as White Lives Matter. It's the the gender version. I don't like the word; it doesn't mean much. Of racial politics.
Yeah, but I mean, men are people too should be a benign question.
You should be a benign statement. The response should be, "Why have you said that?"
But the response you invariably get is, "What the fuck are you saying? Why do you hate women?"
and then the networks get busy and it's just ratioed. Wow. But so hang on, I will ask you a question. So why do so many right-wing, conservative, dissident right, alt-right, what's left of them, or if they wish to call themselves that, why have so many of them, and I haven't got the numbers, this is just sort of what I've noticed over the last sort of 6-7 years, why is the men's rights movement considered not that relevant or a bit of a joke? And can I just posit this? I don't want to put words into your mouth, but I think it's got it suffers from a
poor reputation.
It's got a poor rep. It's not sexy. It's not, you're not going to get many people clicking that. Whereas if you talking about immigration, dinghies coming across the water, you'll get views and yet weirdly things like uncontrolled mass immigration, things like globalism come out of weak men in weak nations. So, I think if you follow the line back, you'll get to the bit where, men have been shafted here.
I'll tell you the bit that surprises me. The amount of people that are against foreign religions and are willing to say anything to try to reduce the amount of people here with foreign religions, that haven't realized that if you changed the word female to childhood in the genital mutilation laws, they would get pretty much everything they wanted.
Yeah.
Because
and also a lot of those laws are already in place. There's things you're not allowed to do which are done daily by these people.
But here's the thing: because we lack compassion for sons, we're quite happy to chop off a third of the skin on our penis.
Yeah.
Now you start mutilating a girl, which, by the way, started off being called female circumcision, and they changed it in order to they changed it to that because they didn't want to connect it to male genital mutilation in case they had to ban both.
And when you say they,
it's the feminists.
It's weird, isn't it? Because even someone like myself, I consider myself quite enlightened. I consider myself, sort of on the ball in some areas, and yet when I think of male circumcision, it barely touches the sides, to be honest with you, because it's been normalised. But as soon as you hear about them chopping off clitorises and all that other labia lark, it's horrific. And yet it's the same thing, pretty much. It's genital mutilation.
There are levels of genital mutilation from a something nick, ceremonial nick, to the complete removal of the clitoris, and male genital mutilation sits somewhere around about 7 in the amount of damage it does.
What, out of 10? 1 to 10, is it?
Yeah, 1 to 10. And
well, I heard stories, and I did, I fact checked them, and there's certain orthodoxies. I've got to be careful here because you have to. Certain orthodoxies suck the blood off as part of the. And children were getting venereal disease from the mouths of the people doing the chopping. And I mean, is that a good thing? Do I have to ask that question?
No, never mind that. What about the children with damaged lungs from screaming after having it done in an NHS hospital?
That
should be enough to. That should be enough to.
And that's the thing, is it?
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
Because their underdeveloped lungs were pushed to such a ferocious need to tell people to stop that they damaged their lungs.
Yeah. Yes.
And there's evidence for that, is there?
Oh, yes, there is.
Wow. I mean, I've got friends who've had it, and one friend in particular, I know one bloke, it's anecdotal, but he said to me, I'll never forgive my father for doing it. He says, my sex life's a joke.
Yep. The amount of problems that there are from circumcisions, and by the way, North America, it's not done for religious practices; it's just cultural, and it's paid for on the people's insurance. But it's in the insurance package for having a child. Gas and air, delivery, childcare, cut a third of the skin off the penis. It just.
I mean, I think we've reached the tip, just the tip of the men's rights iceberg here.
Yeah.
42. Listen, we will do this again. If you're up for it, we won't leave.
Not a problem.
We'll give it a few weeks so it's still fresh in people's minds. 3 or 4 weeks, and I'll hit you up. I mean, because we haven't even got there. We've done 2.25 hours, and there's just so much more. We have, but I didn't really give you time to answer. Why is why more involved in it? Why is it seen as not relevant?
Because if they begin to admit the level of the problem, they've got to do something about it. And the doing something about it is going to involve changing how society works. Our society is run on male disposability and female youth and beauty. They're the 2 driving factors for absolutely everything.
Yeah.
And
agree.
If we start to change that, there's too many difficult questions that they don't want to answer.
But that's interesting, though, 42. I mean, my initial response to that was, I fear changing that.
Yeah.
Because I think there's actually something also beneficial in that natural divide.
It needs modified, not removed.
There you go. I mean, I am conservative at heart. I always feel that we're going to be all right because nature's stronger than culture.
It's like, let's make more genuine efforts at diplomacy before we jump into a war. Let's do things that genuinely make mine shafts safer.
There you go.
Let's make genuine effort. See if somebody's working at height and they go splat. The biggest worry that the manager's got is who's covering that shift tomorrow. And I think maybe that ought to change.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I think that's a fair point. All right, listen, mate, I'll let you get off to work. Listen,
Yep.
42 in the chat for 42. I could have, if it wasn't for time and energy restrictions, I could, for a stream I didn't want to do, I could have sat and listened to this for another 4 or 5 hours. So we will do those people.
Brilliant.
We'll stick them along in a long list, because this is this actually goes right to the heart of what is wrong with Western liberalism, really. 42, thank you for coming on, mate.
One very quick. Anybody that arrived here via the links I put out on Facebook and stuff, I know Luke's in here or was. Thank you very much for coming along, and don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button, because this is a good channel.
Yeah, thank you. I noticed there was a few people in here that I didn't recognise. That's always nice. Thank you very much, 42. You look after yourself.
Yes, and you, and all the best. And thanks very much for having me on, Chris.
We'll talk soon. And listen, I just also want to congratulate you on, I mean, it sounds a bit patronising, but I'm blown away at what you've managed to achieve just on those little things you've told me. It's amazing you've done all that. Because it wasn't like you were in a position where your life was rosy. You just come out, most people who come out of a 25 years violent, mentally crushing, dysfunctional relationship are going to be kind of selfish, understandably. And it sounds like you got yourself back on track and thought, right, I'm going to try and do something about this sort of stuff. And that's remarkable.
Whenever you need to fight, my fight, I don't mean physically. I mean, whenever you need to try to struggle to get something done, fight like you're the third monkey on the ramp, the arc, and brother, it's just started to fucking rain.
Don't say another word. That's a great ending. I'll talk to you via email. Cheers, 42. Ta-ra, mate. Incredible. I mean, just mind-blowing stuff. Mind-blowing, and I definitely want more. Blogs the Niggler has dropped in entropy. He said, feminism seems like a version of Marxism. Yeah, without a doubt, Bill. There's that. Yeah, the Marxists have kept feminism alive. You're an expert, and then he goes on to say, you're an expert. Was feminism invented by a Marxist, inspired by Marxism, or co-opted by Marxism? You can add conspiracy theories for spice if you like. Well, Marx, when Marx talks about class relationships and social relations, he frequently talks about the exploitation of women. He wrote a paper on prostitution, which is weird when it's just wage labor. It's a specific example of a general problem in terms of basic Marxist labor theories. And Marx didn't want women in the home. Marx didn't want women bringing up children. No way. That's not equality, and it shouldn't be equality, because we're different. Why squeeze equality out of things that aren't? Now, there's equality in terms of your value as a human, but difference. We're not created equal, not just men and women, but men and men and women and women. Equality is anti-nature, and it destroys everything it touches, much like diversity does, because diversity is a lie. Diversity is not anything to do with diversity. We all know what it really means. Right, listen, I've got a bit of a surprise for you here. So I missed a couple of tunes. A massive thanks to 42, though, and we'll definitely get him on again, because that was amazing. Thank you, everyone in the chat. Sally from Dartford. I won't say the full fella's name, but Lee H was in Cambodia just a few days ago. You know who I'm talking about? And I don't know your relationship with him, but I know you know him. And he's thinking of settling down over here. He couldn't catch up with me this time. He's got to go back to England for a while. But he said he'll catch up with me for a cup of tea. It'll be nice to talk to Lee. He's always been very nice to me. But anyway, so in SUBSTACK 2, I missed a couple of songs. I missed one by Tech Roach, which we played out with last time. And I missed one by Ugg, but he actually didn't send it. And we've come to that realization, but he has now. So as long as this isn't I don't usually click links because it kills my computer. It's on We Send It. That ain't going to be ready tonight. Oh, bollocks. All right, we'll have to go back to something else. I know where we go. But what I want to say, thank you so much. We had about 100 people for the majority of that. And, you know, the problem that I said, it's not sexy, is it? Even that thumbnail is a bit of a joke, isn't it? And yet it isn't. And 42 said it. If a lot of the people on the right were to go, you know, get through the sort of the stuff that's obvious, and it, you know, you see the boats coming in, you see the 5-star hotels getting all the copper ripped out and all that, and that's all on our taxes. And I get that, and it gives you an automatic kind of anger and frustration. I get that, but there is a bit of a, you know, when people talk to me about football and it's bread and circuses, to an extent, I think a lot of that stuff is as well. You sit and watch it, you get black-pilled, and you think these fuckers, you know, yeah, but there's not. You're not going to do a lot about that because it's a symptom. It's not actually a problem. It's a symptom, and you've got to get that stuff out of the way and go further into it. Be more rigorous about asking yourselves, why didn't a country take to the streets when an estimated 1 million of their girls were raped, tortured, and trafficked? Why didn't the men do anything? What has become of us as men, and why? You know, I think there's more chance of them rioting in America if Trump gets arrested. Apparently, he's getting arrested today, but the clock's ticking. It could just be a bit of marketing. But I think that goes back to that sort of thing. I think the feminized education we suffered. I think the lie of psychiatry that has given so many so many failed diagnoses. You've got ADHD, yeah, have some Ritalin so your brain shuts down. Oh, you've got autism, you've got Asperger's. You know, psychiatry, the myth, the lie of psychiatry has taken Asperger's out of the DSM. So if you were diagnosed with Asperger's, that doesn't exist anymore. But what if you're still exhibiting those symptoms? Oh, I'm sorry, it doesn't exist. The first DSM that was written by psychiatrists, the people that wrote it, every single one of them worked for Big Pharma. They didn't write a book, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. And it's like this. It's like ADHD, and then there's 10 boxes. And if you tick 6 of them or something, you've got ADHD. They wrote that book. They invented diseases for medication they'd already invented, but had no use for. And so suddenly it was like, well, hang on a minute. We've got something that does so and so. We've got something that holds serotonin in place rather than lets it cycle. Hang on, depression. If you keep serotonin on the receptors, you can't be depressed. I mean, you can't really be yourself. It's a little bit Brave New World. Yep, 7 of them. They were all representing Big Pharma, the people who wrote the DSM. And so this goes back to it. You put a load of boys through a feminized education system. Every bloke in this chat sat at school going out of their mind. And this isn't because girls are bad at all. It's because of left-wing utopian idealist thinking. You know, young girls learn very well from books. They do. And that's all right. But young boys don't. Young boys learn by doing. And I can remember being 6 years old, sitting in that classroom, gripping my legs under the table to the point where my nails were drawing blood because I was just so frustrated, looking outside at a sunny day and knowing that after this hour, just listening to some woman at the front or some bloke at the front reading to me about fucking cholera, I'm 6, what? Or Macbeth when I was 12. 12, Shakespeare. How dare you put me off a writer that's dominated literature for 500 years? But they managed it, which was intentional. That's absolutely intentional. That's why they made state schools, to keep people stupid. And it fucking worked, and it broke men. you know, and I knew that after that hour, I'd have 10 minutes running around the playground before I'd do another hour, then another hour, then another hour. And I had 10 more years of that. It sent me fucking crazy. Sent a nation of men crazy. Sent a continent crazy. Sent the men of Europe crazy. Why wouldn't it? And then, of course, rather than addressing those behavioural issues, because they are behavioural, drinking, drug taking, violence, whatever, however it manifests itself, that's their behavioural. But then they wrote a book. No, you don't need to worry about all that. We've got some tablets for you. Oh, no, you've got this, you've got this. You know, mental illness, which doesn't exist, mental illness has shot up something like 5,000% in 30 years. Do you think that's because society has got so much worse that everyone's losing their minds? No, because they've invented more mental illnesses so that they can dish out more tablets. It's not as sexy as immigration. It's not as sexy as all that stuff. But that stuff to me is bread and circuses. That's why I don't really get in. I don't watch those sorts of videos anymore. It's just like black pilling. It's depressing. I get it. Yeah, I get it. In 5 years' time, 2 in every 5 people in the UK won't be English. It's already 1. But I honestly think it goes back to things like the feminisation of the education system and men's rights, the sorts of things 42 was talking about. And it's a fucking disgrace. So there you go. I have to say, for what was an absolutely fantastic stream, the grift was appalling. But I also understand everyone's skin. Hang on a minute. Right, here we go. We should be right. I think I've got it wrapped up nicely. Thank you to everyone who did donate. It's much appreciated. If you haven't seen my latest Dragon's Den video, there's a bit of a volume problem, but honestly, watch it. It's an absolute belter. I've put a new teaser from my novel. I lost 6 subscribers. I've only ever lost about 4 over the whole year. And I reckon it's because in that first paragraph, I described something as being a bit gay. And I just think I'm going to write to him and ask him. I want to know why. It's, you know, the quality of the writing isn't any better. Well, I'd actually say it's better than all the shorts because it's my novel. But there's something that turned them. I don't know. It doesn't make sense apart from that line. And I want it to be like that. Anyway, loads of people are likening me to Karl Ove, which isn't a bad thing. If you don't know Karl Ove, he wrote a six book series called My Struggle, but he's Norwegian, I think, and it's called Min Kampf in Norwegian. A very good writer, actually. I did get a bit bored with some of them, but he's an interesting bloke. And for 3 people to read that sample and say you write very much like Karl Ove, it did make me think I might sell my soul to the devil and talk to my old agent, my old literary agent. Because at the moment, I'm too skint to get it formatted, to get the cover done, to do all the stuff. I haven't got the time or the money to self-publish. If I can get my agent back on the firm, in the long run, I won't make as much money, but they do all the work. I just send them the manuscript and then I can forget about it. But it's the difference. Let me tell you what the difference is. Self-publish, every unit you sell. Kindle, I think it's about 60% of the cover price. Lumi can confirm. And if it's paperback, something like 35% of the cover price. Traditional publishing, 7.5%. 7.5%. Like, so if that book's a tenner, which it probably will be, I'll get 75 pence for every unit sold. Ouch. Ouch. No, exactly that, Tony. Exactly that. I am aware of that. Anyway, we'll end up with a bit of Bally G. I will be putting your messages on the screen as the music plays. Check out the teaser on Substack. Let me know what you think. I've put 3 teasers over the year of my novel on my Substack. Top link in the description. Thank you very much, Packer. But out of the 3 teasers, the latest one represents the novel more. The other 2, I tidied up so that they appear like shorts. But this teaser does represent the other 55,000 words. I've realised this book at the moment is going to be about 800 pages. What a terrible time for my editor to go to rehab. Anyway, I've gabbled a lot. Go and subscribe to my Substack. Check out the Dragon's Den video. That Dragon's Den got a takedown notice. That's my second Chat GPT. I disputed it. Sony got Chat GPT. I've won 2 out of 2 now by getting Chat GPT to write it. And if you don't succeed, you get a strike. It's quite, you know. But now, before when I made my Dragon's Den videos, that's 5-6 hours work. You know, recording it, editing it, uploading it, rendering it, making the thumbnail, all that, and then blocked in all territories. And it's hard work when you're recording it and enjoying it, thinking they might never see this. But now I've got Chat GPT to just very nicely write my dispute claims for me, and they're brilliant at it. You know, Chat GPT was like, well, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Yeah. Thank you, Plot Loser. Nice one, JP. Yeah, he was great. It's more for 42. Thank you very much. We need an AI music remover. What, for videos on YouTube? That's interesting. Because, yeah, it was Sony, not BBC. So it was for the audio. That's very interesting. There you go, John. That's the battle that is happening. And at the moment, it's 2-0. By the way, the reason I don't say VART anymore is a friend of mine from my stand-up comedy days, David Von Jones, nice lad, actually. We had a chat on Sunday. He's offered to make little 1 and 2 minute clips from my live streams and my videos, because that's how you get new subscribers. You put an hour-long Dragon's Den reaction, no one knew's coming to that, or certainly not staying for an hour. But 1 and 2 minute little clips, people do. Now, I haven't got the time to do it, but he's volunteered. So because I was varting so much, you know, there's like a 2 minute clip, but just when you think, oh, that's a nice bit, I go, Vart! And it's like, I can't, you know, that's going to be a bit weird for someone who's not familiar with the channel. Anyway, nice one, Mousecat. Prasha Cookie. Thank you, Bill, for that one in the chat. Yeah, Bill, if you just type into Google Marxism and feminism, you'll be directed to loads of papers. You know, all Marxists are feminists. And likewise, all feminists are Marxists, even if they say they're not. They just don't know it. It's so insipid. Here we go. Here's the music. Look after yourselves. Thanks to everyone who donated. It means the world to me. Thanks to the boy Cray and my man Rags for looking after the place. And most of all, thanks so much to all you lot for keep coming back. It honestly is a privilege, 7 years later, with all the ups and downs this stream's been through, to still be able to stream and have an audience. It means the world to me. I love it. I love you. Bless you all. And I will see you soon. Let me know you can hear this, because they've really made it weird. We'll give it a go. Vart. I said I'll stop saying it, but, you know, I think that was an able place. Here we go. Thank you, Mrs. Me in it. Nighty night, all before the music plays. Got to do some thingish, or think about it at least. £5. You go get yourself a cocktail, Chris. I'm off the booze, to be honest with you, but I'll go and get some yogurts and some nice Cambodian honey. How about that? Nice one, Mrs. Me in it. Ta-ta and ta-ta all. Here we go. I'll be that was deliberate, by the way. I was just moving it on to this song.
Daddy, you're fighting good. Feel the glory he said you would.
Hello, Joe. Long time son.
Tell your mama you're coming home. Over all of that death syndrome. But you realize you've been sold when you feel the enemy's cold hard steel.
I'll get on it, Rooney. I'll get on it.
Feel the dawn of your final day. Feel the fear and go anyway. Get a ride in that big black plane. Kill your conscience and numb your brain. But you'll realize you've been sold when you feel the enemy's cold hard steel. Cause the wheels already been rolled when you feel the enemy's cold hard steel. Oh Lord. Do whatever they tell you to. Tell yourself it ain't really you. But when the slaughtering has begun, you'll be murdering someone's son. And you'll realize you've been sold when you feel the enemy's cold hard steel. Cause the wheels already roll when you feel the enemy's cold hard steel. Oh Lord. Yes, you'll realize you've been sold when you feel the enemy's cold hard steel. Oh Lord. Cause the wheels already been rolled when you feel the enemy's cold hard steel. Oh Lord. Hey.
Good gosh, I've got people trying to give me money and Susan telling them they can't. Thanks, YouTube. I better not ask her why, though, because then she might have a look. I'm still a YouTube partner. Oh, some people said there was about 10 adverts on that Dragon's Den video. That ain't right. I done something wrong there. I am monetizing them. Hey, Susan! See that? Sorry, not really. It was like a sausage, like a, what do you call them in America? What are they called? A wiener. Oh, listen, I know I've said it before. If you haven't seen that Wiener documentary, if anyone in the chat can remember what it's called, you know that fella Wiener, his missus was the head of publicity for Thingy Clinton. What's her name? I can't even remember the old witch's name. You know, the murderer. So Wiener was the head, his missus was head of promotions, PR for Thingy Clinton. Wow, that's gone from my head. And he's doing his own campaign. And so he said to the cameras, yeah, you can follow me. You know, that would be good publicity. Hillary Clinton, that's it. Cheers, 42. But honestly, it couldn't have gone worse. I don't know what, I can't remember what the documentary is called. But yeah, I'll tell you, because it's so excellent. I've seen it twice. I watched it again the other night. It might actually just be called Wiener. I mean, you'll be, you know, why would you miss out on that? It's a gift. It's called Wiener. Honestly, it's a laugh a minute. What an absolute prat. And no spoilers. Thank you, Anglo. Thanks for persisting. That can't be fun. But no spoilers, but when the pedo stuff starts, just when you think it can't get any worse, and it's all on camera, he's already signed off. He can't just say, no, I don't want to do this documentary anymore. It's beautiful. If you want an hour and 20 minutes of real fun, Wiener, it's a corker. Look after yourselves, people. I'll try and get another stream in a few days. Take care. Hoit!